Hello, you infinite being. Thank you so much for dropping by. So, I'm going to talk a little bit today about a very fascinating subject. That there's primarily two types of awakening, and spiritual awakening, and that they don't necessarily, it's not necessarily an either or. There can be these two processes going on at once. And as I think you'll see, the flavor of them is very different. And so I'm really excited. This is a topic I've been meditating on for almost, wow, it's been over a decade and a half, and I find it utterly fascinating. And I'd also like to give credit to a teacher whose work I'm going to draw on a little bit there. Um, Her name's Mistress Angelique. She's a very interesting Kundalini Tantra teacher. And she's the one who came up with the phrase, at least that I first heard it of, top down and bottom up awakening. So I'm going to put a link in the description of this video so you can check out her article on it. So a bottom up awakening is when Kundalini gets activated. This isn't something to just seek out for fun. Kundalini is hands down the most powerful force in the physical universe. It's not something to be tampered or played with. If it awakens, you really, once Kundalini has awakened, your life is not your own anymore. Your life is about surrendering to it, because Kundalini basically works its way up the spine, clearing out all blockages, clearing out everything that interferes with you living, you being connected to the divine, and you expressing and manifesting that divinity. So it's not something to be afraid of, but it is something to treat with the utmost respect. And so that's what I'll say about that for this moment. So that's a bottom up. When Kundalini, which is, for anyone who doesn't know, it's a dormant spiritual energy that lies at the base of the spine, awakens and then rises up through the body, clearing out all these various blockages. So that's a bottom up awakening. Top down is much gentler. It's what most spiritual paths are. It's a path of renunciation. It's a path of detachment. It's not necessarily concerned with the body. For example, Advaita Vedanta, non-duality, is a classic example of a top-down path, and a lot of the spiritual things out there are that. There's this idea of witnessing, of not, of non-identification, of transcendence. It's very much a transcending path. Transcend your personality, transcend your feelings. And what Mistress Angelique points out, which I find very interesting and very accurate in my own experience, is that a top-down awakening is not complete. What most people think of as, many people who claim to be enlightened actually have just had a top-down experience, and they haven't fully cleared out the issues and traumas and all the things that lie in the lower chakras. And that's why you have all these spiritual teachers, money scandals, sex scandals, so forth and so on. They've had a profound awakening. It's like they've had a profound awakening from like here to maybe here, but they haven't cleared out their power, their sexual issues, and then they're just fundamental life and issues of the first three chakras. So one of the advantages of a top-down awakening is it's much more gentle. A Kundalini awakening usually is very intense. One of the disadvantages is it's kind of disembodied. If you've spent a lot of time around, Advaita Vedanta or non-duality, it's a very, very disembodied path. Now, what I'd like to add to this is I had a conversation with a Tibetan Lama once, and I asked about the difference between these two paths. And what she said, and it struck me, it's so profound, she said, a renunciate path, which is just, let me back up a moment. I said a renunciate path, that the top down is a renunciate path. What that means is you're not really interested in life. It's more kind of like a monk and nun kind of thing. You're not seeking happiness in any way through the body or through the world. Whereas tantric completely includes the body, doesn't have to include sex. There are definitely celibate versions of tantra, but it's very much focused on the body and learning to use desire, whereas a transcendent path is just about transcending and releasing desire. So what this Tibetan Lama said is, she said, a renunciate path is much safer, but it'll take you about 10 lifetimes. You have to work for 10 lifetimes to achieve liberation by a renunciate path. She said the tantric path, however, you can achieve it in one lifetime, but it's much more dangerous. It's much easier to fall off the path. Because, the tantric, whereas the transcendent path is like, it's like saying, no thanks to feelings, to desire, to sex, to relationship, it's saying no to like the most messy parts of being human. Whereas in the tantra path is like, let's go right down in there and use that fuel. And so it's much quicker, but as you can imagine, and anyone who's tried to heal trauma, which is a path I have some experience with, it's quite intense. There's a reason why most spiritual paths are transcendent, are top down, because the feelings and the stuff that everyone carries in their first 3 chakras, it's intense. It's very, very, very intense. So now I'm going to respond. This video was, someone wrote me a question. Are you working towards reaching union or the absolute? That's a little vague. Union or the absolute. I wouldn't differentiate the two. Do you think there's a difference between Kundalini and the Holy Spirit? Yes, I do. The Holy Spirit is an example of a top-down awakening, whereas Kundalini is almost like top-down is the spirit coming into us and gently, slowly cleaning, whereas on bottom-up is like, activate the fire of creation, and it's going to burn up everything that's not helpful or healthy. This person wrote, for me, the Holy Spirit came descending down from the top of my head, but I never had a Kundalini awakening. Well, so this is a classic example of a top-down awakening. I'm wondering if it's the same energy. Essentially, no one on the internet, especially Christians who say that Kundalini is demonic, can answer my question. Yeah, that it's sad that most Christians don't understand Kundalini, and Christianity, as it's taught today, I don't think it's what Jesus taught at all, is definitely a top-down system. It is a big no. Christianity is a big no to Kundalini and to the vibrant, Kundalini is the energy of creation, of life. It's not just sex, it's the raw fire, desire of creation. And Christianity is a big no to that. So yeah, what you're describing is classic, and even your own language says descending from the top of my head. So you ask, are the energies essentially are these two energies the same? That is a fascinating topic. My own view, which is based on the Samkhya philosophy of Hinduism, which Samkhya underlies, Hinduism has all these different schools, but Samkhya tends to underlie all of the schools. And Samkhya says that the one, Parabrahman, the one divided itself into 2. Purusha, consciousness, the witness, and Prakriti, nature, creation. In essence, you could say Kundalini is Prakriti, and awareness or consciousness is Purusha. So that's the model I use, and it really helps me navigate different spiritual teachings. And so my view is that Purusha, consciousness, is Prakriti, creation, at rest. Simultaneously, Prakriti, creation or creativity, is Purusha, consciousness, in action. So I see them as one and the same. I see them both as energy, just with different you could almost say responsibilities. Like it's Purusha's job to just watch what's going on, and it's Prakriti's job to create. Of course, the two need to work together, and that's a very intricate subject, which I won't go into right here. Um, and they each need each other, which is an interesting paradox. Um, so that's my answer. I hope it was helpful. Thank you. Love the question, and please do, for anyone who's curious. Again, I'm going to put the link to the teacher mistress Angelique in my website, to her website. It's fantastic. It saved my life when I had a Kundalini awakening. So it's an amazing resource. All right, you beautiful divine beings. Namaste.